Good morning, everyone, or good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Jason Griller here with AirMiners, welcoming you to our second town hall that we've had since starting AirMiners. So it's a pleasure to see you all here today, seeing a lot of people chiming in from various regions of the world. We're having this meeting today because we wanted to share with you things that have happened in AirMiners and really recount events and talk about where our community is, where successes we've seen over the last few months, and to talk a little bit about what the future direction of AirMiners looks like in the near and longer terms. So we want to have these regular meetings with you, our community, because we really feel like the power of community is our superpower in AirMiners. And with that, we can make impactful change to advance the practice of removing that first billion tons of carbon dioxide and its equivalent from the atmosphere by the end of 2030. I want to talk a little bit about where we're going in terms of the agenda today. In a minute or two, I'm going to hand the floor to Tito so that he can talk through some of the successes that I alluded to earlier and outline future directions. Also, we're going to have an audience Q&A after that, followed by some breakout rooms, starting at around maybe 40 minutes into our meeting today. We are recording this, so if you have to step out, can't make it, we are going to put this on our YouTube channel afterwards, so that you can view at your own convenience. Thank you, everyone who contributed to make today's event carbon negative. Again, it's inspiring to me to be here with you all, because when I look out over the progress we've seen in the carbon removal industry and removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, I'm struck by what's been happening to get us to places that are further than we ever thought we could do. And if I see the energy that's been expressed over the last few months, if that continues going forward, then you know what? We're going to get to that billion tons removed sooner than anyone ever thinks we can feel is possible. And you know what? Don't bet against us. So with that, I'm going to leave it to Tito to take things from here. Tito.
Yo, what's up, AirMiners? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Like Jason said, great to be here with you all, and thank you for being here. I know that all of you are choosing to spend this hour here, and you could be doing something else. Maybe there's a prototype that you need to hit with a wrench, or maybe there's a deal you're trying to close, and you're here, and I really appreciate that you're here. I want to encourage you to be here for the full hour. We're going to be doing updates and sharing and breakout rooms. And it's a really good opportunity to hear the latest and get in front of a bunch of AirMiners and improve your chances for success. So this is our second AirMiners town hall. And I want to let you know, this is no ordinary get together. It belongs to everybody that's here, everybody that's logging in from all over the world. And our purpose today is to empower you to remove 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by 2030. So think of the next hour as an invitation to come join us, to insert yourself into something that looks like it needs help, where you can have a huge impact, where you can supercharge things. Maybe it's where somebody's saying, hey, I need help with something. Maybe it's where you see something's just missing and you're like, hey, I want to go solve for that. We had 156 people submit questions in advance of this event. And so I've read through all of them. Most of what people want are updates about AirMiners, updates about the accelerator, the kiloton fund. And so we're going to get to all that. Even one person wrote in and said, I want to represent AirMiners at Verge. I'm like, I don't even think I know this person. That's like so cool to be here and to be spending this time with you. And you know, I look across the more than 2,200 AirMiners members that we have registered today, and I see people doing all sorts of stuff. And from meeting so many of you, I know you're super active in carbon removal. And in those conversations, what I've heard is no matter how active you are, there's still some next level that you want to get to. And we want to help you get there, whether you're applying for jobs, going into job interviews, you're learning about carbon removal. Maybe you joined Boot Up for the first time. Maybe you're running a startup company. Maybe just closed a $30 million startup investment. There is always some next level of what you want in carbon removal. And we're here for it. And we want to just keep things siloed. We want to activate you all and help you see that, look, you're surrounded by other people that are also looking for what's next for them, and we can move forward together. So like Jason said, we're going to cover in the first 20 minutes, this is kind of an update about what's happening at AirMiners. And then we've got 15 minutes for Q&A, which we didn't have last time. We've got 15 minutes for Q&A, and then we're going to do some breakout rooms at the very end. And that brings us to the top of the hour, after which we have 30 minutes of general networking. So to kick things off, what is AirMiners? I continue to get this question a lot, and my answer is AirMiners is the possibility of removing 1 billion tons of carbon from the air by 2030. And to what Jason said, I mean, look out world, right? Like, this is going to happen faster than anybody thinks is possible. Jason said that yesterday, and I found myself, gosh, like, do I even think this is really going to happen, right? Like, really saying, Jason's like, this is going to happen faster than anybody thinks is possible, and includes me. And so as AirMiners, that's what we're up to. We're up to removing carbon from the sky. Carbon removal is as big as it's ever been today. In our AirMiners Launchpad Accelerator program, we've had 95 startup teams raise $93 million of venture capital and grants. That's crazy town. Since our last town hall in April, JP Morgan announced $200 million of carbon removal offtakes. Boeing signed up to purchase 62,000 tons of carbon removal credits from Aquatic. Now, both of these are offtake agreements, to clarify, which means that these are agreements to buy the carbon once it's delivered, but that these tons aren't delivered yet. So deliveries really matter. Deliveries are still pretty small. For context, if you can deliver carbon removed today, like it's actually removed today or this year, it really does put you in a unique position. That's something I tell Launchpad teams. If you can actually remove carbon today, you're really in a good spot. So let's get to it. The purpose is how to remove 1 billion tons and empower you towards that goal. Whether it's you're starting a company, finding a job in carbon removal. I see getting more people together physically. We're doing a happy hour in San Francisco tonight. And I can even see on the horizon creating AirMiners accelerators, physical labs around the world. So there's just never been a better time to remove carbon from the air. And if you've got something here today that you want to share, bring it and let's go. So let me get into the updates. Yeah. Somebody's got their mic on, I think, or their whatever it is. You can just mute. Cool. So this is, I'm calling this the guide to removing 1 billion tons of carbon by 2030. And it's a guide because, when early in my career, I always wanted a playbook for how to do the thing. There's a guide to start a company, or there's a guide to being a good student. And the reality is, there are guides, but the best guides, the best playbooks are the ones that we discover and we write together. And so this is kind of the second chapter of the AirMiners Guide to Removing 1 billion tons of carbon by 2030. So it's a collection of stories about what's happened in the last 3 months to give you ideas about what's working, what's not working, to help you show what maybe something that's missing, something that you can create, some way of unlocking you to contribute something more. As we talked about last time, the scaffolding for AirMiners is this idea: learn, imagine, build, show, deliver. Learn what's happening, imagine a new future, build it out, show it to the world, and deliver carbon removed. And you can just do that over and over and over again. Whether you're starting out in carbon removal, whether you've just raised money for your company, whether you're hiring new employees, learn, imagine, build, show, deliver. That's how we get to 1 billion tons removed by 2030. So learn the new stuff. There's tons of new stuff. Boot Up is the main area where people are learning new things in carbon removal. Tank and Craig are both AirMiners Boot Up graduates, and they just went on AirMiners and shared their story at a panel event about them finding jobs in carbon removal. Tank was the moderator, Craig was one of the panelists, and I heard from Craig that he was new to carbon removal, dove into Boot Up, and now is working at Climate Vault, which is working on kind of merging the existing carbon credit markets and carbon removal markets. What they're doing is they're arbitraging carbon credits and then doing grants to carbon removal startups. So it's a super cool company, and just thrilled to hear about Craig's journey through Boot Up into now working for Climate Vault. So this is our biggest Boot Up batch ever. We've had 109 registrants. Boot Up's been growing every 6 weeks. It's not every 6. It's a 6-week program, but we run it about every 10 weeks or so. It was built by AirMiners for AirMiners. It was built by John Sanchez, Julia Castleberg, and Aaron Pace. And it's just, with that spirit in mind, it was about like, how do we just bring together all the best resources in carbon removal and enable people who want to learn them to get together and learn it and talk about it all together. So I mentioned this last time, but about 10% of the most recent batch of Launchpad companies, their first touch point with AirMiners was going through the Boot Up, right? So it's like people that are learning about carbon rule for the first time are going on to start these companies. So it's super cool. 62 of these 109 registrants want to transition their career into carbon removal. 29 want to work in carbon removal policy, and 28 want to start a carbon removal company, right? So if you want to just get a sample of what the future of carbon removal is, just take a snapshot of Boot Up and look at the incredible people that are coming in and where they're going. The other way learning happens at AirMiners is the event series, led by Jason Grillo. And just this is an overview of the incredible events that we've had over the last 3 months since the town hall. One of my favorites is the MRV and environmental justice event, fusing together two key topics in carbon removal: measurement, reporting, and verification, and environmental justice. I just love that it's really bringing together these two big topics. We also had a last-minute event, a impromptu event about the Klarna Milky Wire purchases, where Robert Hoagland led the discussion of these purchases, and 5 of these 8 carbon removal purchases were from Launchpad graduates. So again, just speaking to what's happening in AirMiners and the people that are creating companies, they're going on to sell carbon removal credits, and then the next day they're going to AirMiners to share how they did it and how it worked. And so learning is always a huge part of that role in AirMiners. And again, it's not something that you learn and then you just go off and never learn again. It's this iterative process where you're always coming back to learn and share, imagine, build, and deliver carbon removed. So next is imagine. This is creating new ideas, imagining new ideas, new possibilities. And just want to applaud everybody that's been playing at this level, imagining new solutions for carbon removal, imagining new possibilities. It really takes a lot to just step forward and say, hey, I have this idea for how to get to 1 billion tons removed by 2030. I mean, really, if you say, hey, I have this idea that I think is going to get us 1 billion tons removed, AirMiners is the place where you can say that. And people say, cool, tell me more. Tell me how to do that. How can I help? What do you need? How can I support you? That's what AirMiners is all about. And so we've been digging into how do we kind of spark more of this imagination. And like I reported last time, we've tried some things that didn't really work. We tried a co-founder matching event. We tried a career day kind of event. We've done lots of kind of general networking events, but they didn't really click in terms of getting people with new ideas in front of other people, getting them the support they need in a way that works as a community. And so last town hall, Jason introduced this new event series called Ideas, Needs, and Leads. 30 people came to Ideas, Needs, and Leads and shared what they're looking for, an idea they have, a need they have. As examples, Grant Faber is looking for cool ideas to write about in his newsletter. Shreya Mondal is looking for a chemical engineer to build small footprint direct air capture machines. And Alex Mild is looking for a co-founder for an ocean alkalinity enhancement project. So you can reach out to them. I'll send out the notes afterwards, and it has the link to the doc. And you can come tomorrow to the Ideas, Needs, and Leads session that Jason's hosting, and you can check that out on the events channel. It's a members only event, so you have to find it on the events channel rather than on the Luma page. So that's where Imagine plays in the role of removing 1 billion tons of carbon from the air. Let's see. There we go. Build. This is like teams getting out and raising money, getting customers, building solutions. This is an announcement that came in hot today. Jason was sending it to me on Slack. This is Octavia and Sella announcing the first Southern Hemisphere direct air capture system in the world. This is a 1,000-ton per day system. And Jason and I were just talking this morning. These were 2 batch 3 teams in AirMiners Launchpad. Martin was always calling in from they were both calling in from Nairobi. And I remember there was this one story, like, this is probably totally tangential, but I think they missed a Launchpad session because like the whole town got food poisoning from a big party they had or something like that. So what they're doing though now is Octavia and Sella are working on geothermal energy from the Kenya Rift Valley and using that for direct air capture. So super cool. Maybe we can do an event with them talking more about how this happened and how this came together. I want to also highlight Launchpad grad Aquatic that raised $30 million from a bunch of big name backers, including the Grantham Foundation, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They sold 62,000 tons of carbon offtakes from Boeing to Boeing. And they also have an agreement with Boeing to deliver 21,000 tons of green hydrogen. So green hydrogen, carbon removal, and Jason is working on a deep dive with them soon on how this whole deal came together and what you can learn for how to do this yourself. This is the type of success we need to remove 1 billion tons of carbon from the air. We need companies to succeed. We need teams to succeed from idea, sit in a room, call on the Launchpad at weird times of the day, onto partnerships and removing gigatons of carbon. Showing what you do is really key. And that's a big part of the AirMiners Launchpad experience. We talked about this last time. AirMiners Demo Day is a real opportunity for these teams to get in front of investors, to get in front of buyers. If you remember our last town hall, it was a call to help get more buyers to the buyers demo day that was coming up that Friday. And we had wanted to get 21 new buyers. We got 13 new buyers registered and attending the demo day, including H&M, Kickstarter, and Autodesk. And overall, we had 24 buyers that requested 65 introductions to the 7 startup companies that pitched. So really big in terms of getting out there, showing what you're doing, and getting received by buyers. There's also another startup purchase coming soon that I've heard about. It's a startup and a corporate, and I'll leave them to make that announcement whenever it happens. But it's in the works. So lastly, you actually really do need to deliver carbon removed. The purpose of learning and imagining and building and showing is that ultimately this leads to removing carbon from the sky. And so this is our addition to that part of the story. You saw the press release. The AirMiners Kiloton Fund is a new fund that we're putting together that we've raised and that we're now introducing to purchase carbon removal credits from startups. we're going to be paying a discounted price of the credits with a future delivery date. So I do want to just dig into like the why this exists, and happy to take some questions later on. We are announcing a question and answer event just for the Kiloton Fund that's going to be on August 1st. So Jason will be emailing out about that today. Just to share some of the context of like why does this exist? It exists because we keep seeing a gap in funding for early stage carbon removal companies. Working with 95 teams over the last 2 years, look, $93 million of venture capital in grants raised is incredible. And we still see great teams on the sidelines because they're either not able to raise funding or the fundraising process just moves really slowly for them. And so what we wanted to do was to create a solution to that. Again, billion tons by 2030. How are we going to get there? It means that these 95 teams need to get supercharged to removing carbon from the air. So what we saw was about a gap of about $1 million per team. So if you can get to a prototype, if you can get to proving out that your solution actually is carbon negative, then there really is an opportunity for investors to come in, buyers to come in, programs like Frontier and South Pole. But before that, there's this fundraising gap. So we talked with investors about this gap. And if you're an angel investor in carbon removal, if you're a venture capital investor, why is there a gap? And what we heard was there's a gap because investors aren't sure whether carbon removal is going to grow very quickly. The 5 to 7 year timeline for most venture capital, for most investors, is carbon removal really going to grow quickly in that time period? Is it going to be profitable in that time period? Are these big direct air capture systems and soil systems and ocean systems, are they going to be profitable? And investors aren't sure. And because of that, there's this funding gap. So what we're building out is the Kiloton Fund as a way to close that funding gap in carbon removal. The benefit is we're buying carbon removal credits at a discount, which means that startups get the benefit of a first customer, they get the benefit of early revenue, and they're selling their future product rather than equity in their company. So the Kiloton Fund, we raised $250,000 for a pilot program for what is a test for the Megaton Fund. So we can dig more into that at the FAQ event on August 1st. Okay, what's next is how to get your help with the next batch of AirMiners Launchpad. Like we've talked about, 1 billion tons of carbon removed by 2030. To get us on track for that, we need something like 30 teams in this next batch. That's our goal. Previous batch, we had, I think it was 17 teams. So we're really seeing that we want to grow this program. We want to grow the number of teams that are working at this stage of carbon removal. The challenge is, are there even that many teams on Earth? Can we get them connected to the AirMiners program? And so here's where we need your help. August 11th is the deadline for this next batch of teams. And we're going to make it our largest batch ever. We've built out the program to be able to support more teams, and so we're ready. Again, as we've always said, the Launchpad program is that we're setting a bar for the requirements. So it's not that we're just saying, hey, we want to take the 5 best teams every quarter. What we said is we will take as many teams as meet the criteria every quarter, and we will grow or shrink the program as needed. Because again, when we look at that 1 billion tons removed, the number of new startups getting created, the new ideas being dreamed up, that is really the gating factor for how we get to 1 billion tons removed. So this time around, we really do want 30 new teams, and we have some ideas about how people can help. We really want introductions. We have a field on the application where people can type in your name if you refer them or if you help get them connected to to Launchpad, and we're giving out carbon rewards. So if you refer a team and they put your name in the application, you get a thanks a ton card, which is good for 4 to, I believe, 30 kilograms of carbon removed. And if that team gets in, we're going to double it. So you get this cool thanks a ton card. I was talking with my partner last night about this, like, do you know any startups? And she was like, no. And I was like, do you know anybody at accelerators? No. And so we're talking about, like, how do you actually get connected to startup companies? It's not obvious at all. So what we came up with was, if you know scientists, if you know academics at a university, they're usually connected to entrepreneurial programs or entrepreneurship programs. And that's a good place to get connected to startup companies. So that's just giving you some thoughts and ideas for how this comes together. You can send teams directly to the application. If you want to make an introduction to me, here's a blurb. You got my email, tito@airminers.org. Just say, hey, here's this team. My friend Tito is looking for connections here. And just feel free to use this blurb or modify it as you see fit, and introduce us over email. And so applications close August 11th. So it's coming up in 3 weeks. So after this, we're going to be getting into the Q&A. So happy to take questions. I see there's 20 questions in the chat, so I'm going to stop sharing. And then after that, we're going to do breakout rooms for 10 minutes around what would empower you to remove 1 billion tons of carbon from the air. And I encourage you to put that in the context for your questions. Like when you're asking a question, yeah, what about this would get you going on removing 1 billion tons? All right, what do we got in terms of questions?
What's on your mind? What are your inquiries? Good, bad, and different. We'd love to hear what you have to say, because again, as we said at the top, you are what makes AirMiners. So this time is for you.
I see a comment from Mayo. Oh, David, what's up?
Greetings from Copenhagen.
Hey, good to see you.
We're doing well. We just our prototype, latest prototype test, we removed 70% of the methane in the airstream, and the previous one was 62%, and our goal is 93%. So we're getting to where we want to be. We just need to raise some more money. We just yesterday signed a term sheet for some more pre-seed money, which is nice. It keeps us going for several more months at least. And
congratulations.
One thing I think is, again, I've talked a lot with Jason about this, the disconnect with some of the high impact climate investors, and everything's about money. And the problem is, a lot of what we're doing, there's no money, particularly people, direct air capture, like who owns that CO2? And then you can start talking about carbon credits.
So, we've got somebody with, if everybody could please mute if you're not asking a question.
Yeah. And we're dealing with methane, and most of what we're doing is point sources, so we know who owns the methane. Like like a dairy company, they want to get rid of it from the cow barns, let's say. So we're okay with that. But there really is a disconnect. That's one thing. But one thing I thought about when you're talking is, does AirMiners have a page for the startups looking for funding where they can just, a little blurb, present what they're doing, and investors can go there and just look and say, oh, that looks interesting. Click on it, go to the website, get the contact information, etc. Like that might be a way to enhance the funding, because a lot of these, it's hit and miss, and we're all the startups are going after, this particular VC and the other VC and whatever. But maybe it's good to have a page here in AirMiners of all the startups that are represented here, to have like a page where the VCs can go.
Yeah, got it. What would that mean for your company?
Well, I think that when VCs, these high impact VCs, know this is a place to go, where a lot of the, you go to a VC, you see their portfolio companies, right? The ones they've invested in, right? But where do they go to see all of the ones that are removing carbon and methane, all this type of thing? So yeah, that's just an idea to that might be helpful. Thanks.
So we were starting to do this. We have a page on our Launchpad accelerator that is all the Launchpad graduates. So list of Launchpad, I'm just throwing that in the chat here. And I get what you're saying about having a broader list as a resource for investors. So thanks for that.
Okay.
Andre points out, we did used to have a public list. Actually, Circular Carbon Network has a great database. If you're not there already, get listed on the Circular Carbon Network database. That's a public database. It's a resource for investors, for buyers, and for startups. So I recommend going and checking that out. All right, what do we got next? Chat's been flying with.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming in. So Scott Isler has a question about government action. Scott, do you want to unmute and ask?
What's up, Scott?
Hello, my name's Scott Isler. My background is I have 2 master's degrees, one in mechanical engineering and one in business. And I've spent about 10 years trying to get involved with carbon capture startups. And I see a lot of neat tricks and stuff to kind of fundraise, like novelty items like perfumes or colognes, or like here's a pair of sunglasses that was built out of carbon captured from the air. And that's all neat and can really develop some hype. But from what I can tell, we need a massive mobilization of resources and almost an assumption that energy is going to be all nearly limitless and very cheap and renewable to really make a dent in this gigantic problem we have. So I hear there's a lot of talk of startups, VC. Is AirMiners involved in anything where we could get some sort of influence on government policy? I feel like, I have some more reading to do on the subject matter. I've read a lot about the science behind carbon capture and everything. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around this problem being solved without the use of taxpayer money and government action.
Totally right there with you, Scott. You've totally aligned with what you're saying. I recommend Open Air Collective. They are an incredible community of people that are totally focused on how to move the needle on policy at a individual level. So recommend checking that out. Jason just posted a link in the chat. We also did have a AirMiners letter to the United Nations go out in this last quarter, about a month ago, and we had 153 people sign on to that. But for the most part, we really look to groups like Open Air Collective, Carbon Business Council, Carbon 180 to lead the charge on the policy side.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Agreed, this needs to happen. Let's see, I see a question from, I'll go. So Jeff asked, is the kiloton fund going to be percentage-based or fixed price-based for carbon credit pre-sales? Percentage-based or fixed price-based? Not totally sure what the question, I think it comes down to what's the pricing for the kiloton fund. It is going to be a discounted rate based on the future price.
It is going to be a % discount to follow up on Jeff's point, which I think echoes the question previously asked.
Great.
Yeah. So come to our FAQ event on August 1st to learn a little bit more of the details on that. That's when we're going to outline the, why we're doing the fund a little bit more, talk about how it works, what the process looks like, and perhaps for many of you in the audience, what the application will entail and how to proceed from there.
How do people sign up for that, Jason?
Why, you can look at the link that I posted in the chat about a few minutes ago, but I'll repost again. Cool, and it should be in the post-event survey email as well. So, by the way, if you for after the event's over, you'll get an email in your inbox because we'd love to hear all feedback, good, bad, and different, about what we can do better for these town halls. Also, there will be a link to sign up for the August 1st FAQ event, but I'll repost in the chat again.
All right, I'm just seeing more questions. So Chris has a question. Is it possible to reach out to other accelerators for their lists and combine them worldwide for mutual benefit? That's a great idea. Chris, do you need anything from us to go out and do that? Totally open to reaching out to other accelerators and finding out who the startups in their network are and whether the Launchpad accelerator is a good fit for them. Happy
I can try with some of the people I know.
Great. Yeah. Are there any particular accelerators you're thinking about?
Seaworthy Collective is one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll check on a couple of others.
Yeah, it would be great to connect more with Seaworthy Collective. I mean, you've got tons of carbon removal potential in the sea.
Okay.
Andre had, I think, a question about Launchpad too. Can you reach out and interest pre-startups, folks still at school or otherwise interested in climate solutions? You can inspire them and just show how it works. Totally, yeah. Andre, if there's any schools or universities that you're thinking about, happy to support you. Or if anybody else is at a university or something like that and wants to reach out, happy to support you in that quest.
Yeah, we need to learn more of institutions. We already have inroads to several academic institutions as well as other accelerators to understand like how we can work best with them to get good ideas into AirMiners and ultimately into Launchpad. So the more of those organizations we learn of, because look, our reach isn't perfect ourselves, we're always learning more about the landscape. So please send them our way, send them to us. If you know of a place that has a good source of entrepreneurial innovation and new kinds of solutions. I also want to, if I could, touch on Andre's other point about scaling up.
We've got 1 minute, so we can.
Oh, sure. Just know, Andre, that there's an event on the table. It's maybe under the radar, but I do have plans to start operationalizing carbon removal scale up event coming soon. So sit tight for that one.
Awesome. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but it's Ayodele. Do I need a solution or MVP ready before signing up for the bootcamp? So for the Startup Accelerator program, we really do want you to have either a really solid idea or a prototype already in the works. And you'll see that in the application. Basically, what we've seen is, if you're still searching for different ideas or going through different possibilities, go to Ideas, Needs, and Leads, go into the AirMiners community, share what you're doing. And once you really hone in on a particular one, that's when the accelerator program can just really rapidly help you. We're not all that good at helping you kind of pick one or the other ideas. That's going to be really where the community can help and where Ideas, Needs, and Leads can help. I think that's it for questions, which is convenient because we're at time. Happy for any other questions. We have email. We have the networking afterwards at 10 o'clock. And so for now, let's dig back into these slides over here. And we're going to be doing breakout rooms. This is what we did last time. We got really good feedback about what happened in the breakout rooms. And so we've tuned them a bit. And so you're going to have 10 minutes to talk about this question. What would empower you to remove 1 billion tons of carbon from the air? Maybe there's something on your mind. Maybe there's some new job that you want or some company that you're trying to connect with. Maybe you're trying to raise money. Whatever it is, share that. You're going to be in groups of 3. You each get 3 minutes. We're going to send out warning messages or switch messages, and so take it from there. And then afterwards, we're going to have a couple minutes to have people come back and share what would empower them and what they shared in their group. So Deborah's got the breakout rooms ready, and you're going to see the pop-up for those breakout rooms coming up now.